welcome home. Join us in singing.
I am home. I am home. I have traveled far along this road, and now I'm home. Shalom, shalom. In the love of God, I am home. I am home. I am home. I have traveled far along this road, and now I'm home. Shalom, shalom. In the love of God, I am home.
Good morning and welcome to Unity, spirituality with open hearts and open minds. We're so thrilled that you're here either in person or joining us via Zoom. We are truly all one. And I'm so thrilled that we're continuing to do what I call inclusive services, where you can do it here or you can do it from wherever you are in the world, but we still get to gather together. It's just such an incredible blessing. And one of the things that we did as we entered into the whole pandemic experience was that we focused on the power of prayer and on consciously uniting with one another, however far away we were from one another. Today I'm going to be talking about Julian of Norwich. And she was an anchoress, which meant she had her little spot that she sang, her little inner sanctuary, her little cell that she would live in. But rather than be closed to the world, as an anchoress, she had a window that would open to the world in the middle of the city, in the middle of everything that was going on. And that way, she was always connected. And I love that example because that's what I sought to do for all of you while I was at my house before we could even come back here at all, that I wanted us to be continued in close communion with each other. And we did that. All of you in your homes opened your windows to commune with one another, and how blessed we are now to be able to come back together in person, never having lost our spiritual connection. In fact, I think it deepened more than it ever had before because we realized this spiritual family is truly connected beyond time and space. We are always one with each other. And in that consciousness, I invite you now, if you're at home, get your candle ready. David will be lighting our Christ candle. And this is symbolic of the Christ Spirit, the divine spark in each and every one of us and in all of life. Come light, light of God, give light to creation. Enlighten our hearts and remain with your world. Come light, light of God, give light to creation. Enlighten our hearts and remain with your world. And so now I invite you to stand as an embodiment of that divine spark, and we're going to do two chants. The first, All Shall Be Well, is Simon's version of Julian of Norwich's classic chant, All shall be well, and every kind of thing shall be well. We sing Simon's version that we learned while he was here, and let's just send him a great wave of love and connection as we do that chant, followed by oneness.
All shall be well.
be well. All shall be well. All manner of things shall be well, shall be well. All shall be well. All shall be well. All manner of things shall be well, shall be well.
Can't you feel that? Breathe in that peace and presence. Now oneness.
Oneness. There's a presence
Moving softly in the quiet
of my being,
calling softly all the time.
one heart,
One life, one life, united and divine.
there's a presence
Moving softly in the quiet
of my being,
calling softly all the time. One heart, one mind, one life, united and divine.
there's a presence moving softly in the quiet of my being, calling
Softly all the time. One heart, one mind, one life, united and divine. One life, one mind, one life, united and divine.
Please be seated.
Well, good morning, everybody. The 26th of March. And why I know that is because yesterday was the 25th. And why I know that is we celebrated Michaela, my granddaughter's 16th birthday. The little kid that used to walk up the aisle. And she got a car, which is even worse. So we'll see how that all works out. Anyway, so this morning we had, 5 kids and 4 other adults that all spent the night last night in our little house. And so you can imagine what kind of chaos I left, but here I am. So today we're going to talk about Julian of Norwich. And it just so happens I was reading this book by Deepak Chopra called God, A Story of Revelation. What Deepak is doing is taking all these sages and mystics from all sorts of different traditions. And when they had their God moment, when God spoke to them, how that changed their lives and how that changed our understanding of the revelation of God or the revealing of God. And it's really interesting. He does an excellent job. But Julian, as Pam will explain, lived during... Am I having a bad mic day? Bob? Okay, I was trying. It may be over on this side. Julian lived during the Dark Ages, and so there's all this disease going on, and the streets were piled with corpses. They didn't have time or places to put them. So you can imagine what that must have been like if you were in England at the time. That's where she was. how that scene that played through everybody's mind, day in, day out, rats and corpses, and the people that could sequester themselves could, the people that had money, and those that didn't had to still grub for a living. I mean, it was not a pretty scene. And in the midst of that scene is when God came to her. And thus that all shall be well. What she realized was, even with that horrific outer condition, that as a spiritual being and as a spiritual presence, all shall be well. And that's God's promise, or Spirit's promise, or universe's promise to all of us, that all shall be well. Now, obviously there's easier ways to get there than others, but all shall be well. Anyway, following that, there's a couple of quotes that I thought I would start off with, and then I'll go to my next step. She says, truth sees God. Wisdom beholds God. And those two comes the third. That is the holy marveling delight in God, which is love. Now, take this back now. We're talking about the Dark Ages. And we're talking about a God of love, which is Jesus' teachings, but not the church's teachings. Then it says, in God's sight, all men are one man, and all man are one men. All people are one people. One person is all people. What we do unto another, we do unto ourselves. Suddenly, the soul is united to God when it is truly at peace with itself. So if you have a restless soul, it's to bring peace to that soul. I see that as the incongruence between what I say I'm doing and what I profess I'm doing and what I'm doing. That incongruence with the soul makes it restless. It goes, hey, pay attention here. And finally, we may never come to the full knowing of God till we first clearly know our own soul, which I think is a lifelong journey, and this it is for me, to finding out those little pieces of me that keep showing back up that I'm not sure that I wrote. Okay, that leads us to the Lenten thing for today, which is surrender. It's called the process of surrender. So we've gone through now, we're almost about 30 some odd days into this thing. And it's 40 days of letting go. And I asked you a couple of weeks ago, how's that working for you? This one is about surrender. So the ultimate surrender was Jesus' journey to the cross. And he carried with him this whole energetic movement, and he surrendered to the Almighty, Abba, Father. And I think that's what we're enticed to do under surrender, is all of those things that don't work for us in our lives, to really lay that burden down, surrender ourselves. Initially, I see the word surrender as giving up. Or maybe it is giving up. Maybe that's the way we need to look at it. But it's not defeat. It's actually more powerful than that. Here's what it says. As Jesus walked into Gethsemane with his disciples, he was increasingly at anguish and agitation. He said, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. If you can, remove this cup from me. Yet, not what I want, but what you want. This indicates that during his entire time, he was surrendering his finite will over to the care of God, to Spirit. Jesus demonstrated surrender as a process. We continue in this divine process of becoming. We surrender our thoughts, limitations, burdens, and lives over to the tender, loving care of an infinite presence within you and I. In order to surrender, we are invited to look deeply within. We say yes to embracing the process of surrender, understanding its strengths as a spiritual muscle. As we participate in the art of surrender, We can clearly listen to the expansion of inner intelligence. This binds us to all there is, and we are free to soar. So as we surrender, we open up to the divine possibilities and allow that to come forth. And as Julian says, all shall be well. All shall be well. And all matters of things shall be well. The daily word for the day is joy. I draw from my wellspring of joy. There are so many ways to express joy. I may speak words of praise that bring awareness to even more blessings to my mind. I may take joyful action, my every step aglow with the light of spirit, enlivening all that I do. I celebrate the playful joy of every child, especially the child within me. I experience the same happiness whether I'm at the heart of a busy city or in stillness of nature. And then there is the quiet joy of just being, the richest joy of all. I rediscover my joy by taking slow, deep breaths, tapping into the wellspring of well-being that never runs out. I feel its energetic flow spilling over my heart and my life. What joy to be a spiritual being in a human form as a precious child of spirit. And from Luke, but the angel said to them, do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. All the people. And so it is.
Oh, and so in that wonderful consciousness of letting go out here and surrendering to and lifting up. Because as David said, it's not about quitting giving up, it's about giving up. Taking everything and giving it up into the presence of the divine. That's what we're always called to do. The words are the same, but the meaning is so different. Years ago, I got that in meditation. Stop doing this and do this. That changed everything. So we are blessed now to do this together as we settle into our time of prayer and meditation, allowing our chant sanctuary to carry us deep within into prayer and then returning us back to this spiritual family and this outer sanctuary we are so blessed to share. Prepare me to be a sanctuary,
open-hearted, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary for you. Sanctuary, open-hearted, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary for you.
Settle in and just relax for a few moments into the presence of the divine within you and all around you. The great prayer of St. Francis of Assisi begins with, let me be a channel of thy peace. Let me be an instrument of thy peace. Our chant is, let me be a sanctuary of thy peace. And it's love that brings us into a space where we can trust enough to surrender, to lift up. And in that love and that grace and trust, we can be more open-hearted, more in gratitude, and a true divine channel for that presence that touches us and blesses us so deeply. So allow yourself a moment of stillness and silence now, allowing that presence and that peace to descend upon you, to meet you from below on the path of your life. Feel that presence behind you and all that has been, and before you and all that is yet to be, and all around you in this holy moment. Allow yourself to bring your life exactly as it is and you exactly as you are on this soul journey we call life. Feel yourself loved and accepted, not only by the divine presence and those who love you, but by yourself as well. Here now, as a gift to your soul and to the unfolding of your soul and your life, the beautiful Psalm 91, as translated by Nan C. Merrill in Praying with the Psalms. Let these words meet you where you are, bring you comfort and strength, compassion and peace and grace. Those who dwell in the shelter of infinite light, who abide in the wings of infinite love, they will raise their voices in praise, singing, my refuge and my strength, in you alone will I trust. For you deliver me from the webs of fear and illusion, and from all that separates and divides. You protect me as an eagle shields its young. Your faithfulness is sure like an arrow set upon the mark. I will fear not the shadows of the night, nor the confusion that comes by day, nor the dreams that awaken me from sleep, nor the daily changes that life brings. Oh, though 1,000 may deride this radical trust, 10,000 laugh as I seek to do your will, yet will I surrender myself to you, abandoning myself into your hands without reserve. For you have sent your angels to watch over me, to guide me in all their ways. On their hands they will bear me up, lest I dash my foot against a stone. Though I walk among those who roar like a lion and are as stealthy as the adder, in your strength will I endure. And the divine response, Hear these words at every level of being, a love letter from God. Because you cleave to me in love, I will deliver you. I will protect you who call upon my name. When you call to me, I will answer you. I will be with you in times of trouble. I will rescue you so that you will know my peace. All through the years will I dwell in your heart as loving companion presence forever. All through the years will I dwell in your heart as loving companion presence forever. And with this presence, truly, all shall be well, always. All shall be well. And so in this consciousness of radical trust and faith, of embodied love and presence, I invite you to bring all the prayers that are yours this day. Bring them into this holy moment, into this sacred space, and silently or aloud, however you are so guided, pour forth your prayers this day, releasing them and allowing them to have wings to carry them high. And with eyes looked upward, watch for the unfolding of your prayers in miraculous ways in the days yet to come. In this faith, in this trust of grace and loving presence, we now offer and release our prayers. We add to these prayers all of those entrusted to our High Watch prayer chaplains, written, spoken, or sent soul to soul. And we send prayers of blessing and support to those who are taking the prayer class and are considering a path of service in prayer, in joining our prayer chaplain team. May they be clearly guided and supported should this be a calling of their soul as a path of service and presence to this spiritual family. For our current chaplains, we send a great wave of love and blessing and gratitude. The power of prayer abides at the very center of this spiritual family, this ministry. And we seal this time of shared prayer that we were so blessed to do with the singing of Sanctuary, realizing that as we do so, we are opening to be personal, present channels of the divine presence as love and peace and blessing. Sanctuary.
Prepare me to be a sanctuary, open-hearted, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I am a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, open heart. sanctuary for you.
I behold the divine spark in each of you. I give you blessings, knowing that all shall be well always for each and every one of us. Namaste. And now, special music, and it couldn't be a more perfect song.
Hello, everyone. Oh. Back in 2012, at the downstairs of Boulder Church, in the High Watch prayer room, I was with my first dog, Julie, who's now gone on to the Rainbow Bridge. And I posed this question before me. I'd been hearing so much reference to be in the present, be in the moment now. And from the minister, Jack, that I'd been hearing 2 services a day because I was staying at the church there as I prepared my van, or repaired my van. And there was I was witnessing acts of kindness and just feeling so much love and things that was opening my heart. And I was down in that room and Julia laying on the floor there, and I posed that question myself. I wonder what it would really be like to be in the present moment. And I paused and just left a space, and it was a feeling that just came. And I looked up at the corner of where the wall meets the ceiling for something I could relate to, last coordinates of something I know. And as I pulled my eyes away from there, it was a symbol of letting go of everything I have ever known or knew, thought I knew, and was just opening up to this feeling of being in the present moment. And oh my. So as I reflected back on that experience, and this song came of that experience in this moment.
Here we are, Alpha and Omega. Here we are, beginning and the end. Here we are, as it's always been. Here we are again. And in this moment, I feel the love and care. In this moment, it's neither here nor there. And in this moment, I know who I am. In this moment, I am only love. In this moment, always love. Every moment here with you, here with me. In this moment, I am. And there you are, bright shining star. There you are, most beloved. There you are, in every smile. In these moments, we are only love. In these moments, always love. Every moment here with you, here with me. In these moments, we are walk on in this knowing. With quiet eyes, I can see to be, to
love consciously. In these moments, we are Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. Here we are, as it's always been. Here we are again. Here we are again. And here we are. Well, this is spring, and the way of the Almighty is always a furtherance. So this song for us, decided to add, as I heard the theme of the words, daily word this morning of joy. This is a song was back in 1975, I heard it. It was put together of collective thoughts and from the hearts of different ones in a group meeting after hearing religious and spiritual teachings, and for the purpose of putting song together for entertainment on that Saturday night. So in a short period of time, collectively, these words came. So from the Almighty for us, this song, Life Gracious Enough. If life were gracious enough to grant my way, reach to the ends of the earth, give love in every day, for each to find their home with peace and friendship there, where joyous songs abound and happiness to share. If life were gracious enough to grant this dream, see your face in the stars, and hear your voice in every stream, the comfort of your smile in the warm caress of spring, and in this dance of life all the while, feeling the love in everything. In our verse, let us make this life gracious enough to fulfill all the dreams, lift off the weight of the world, and love will blossom supreme. Free each heart from its pain and anguish of the past. And in this presence of love, true joy will reign at last. Let it be so. Thank you. And in the words of our David Goldsmith at the end of closing prayer every Sunday, and let that be in our lifetime. I like that.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
For
Thank you, thank you. Beautiful songs. If we had a furry companion, and I always get in kind of a different space when I give my talk. So before I go into that, David, you've been sharing your water glass with Romeo, and he's very appreciative. So you all did a communion of sorts. Yes. I love it. Hey, Romeo. Hi. Bye. Oh, I love it. As you all know, I am a major St. Francis person, and the animals have always been very much a part of my ministry as well, and they continue to be. So, Romeo, you are always welcome. Oh, huh? Yes, into your water, right, right. Oh, so today I'm going to be talking about Julian of Norwich. And I remember when I first heard the term Julian of Norwich, I assumed it was a guy. Because today, Julian is usually a man's name. But this was a name of a woman. And she is one of the great church mystics. And I love the fact that in the midst of organized theology, there are these places where mystics allow the presence of the divine to come alive in new ways, not through theology or head or tradition, but through a living presence and experience that changes them, that opens their perceptions, opens their hearts, igniting in them a spark of that presence of the divine that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later we're still honoring and remembering. And I think it was Spirit's kind of tricky way of keeping the divine feminine presence in the classical theological structure of the church that was highly patriarchal. We have Mary in the little chapels. That was always my favorite place to go to, going to Catholic Mass with friends. I love the little chapel with Mary and the candles. That's where I found the presence. And these mystics, many of them were women. And Julian of Norwich was one that I had heard of but did not know a lot about. I did know that she wrote the All Shall Be Well, and All Shall Be Well, and Every Kind of Thing Shall Be Well. And Matthew Fox is someone that I've admired for years. I love his creation theology, which says that, as we talked about for the last several years, our physicality, our embodiment, is just as divine as our soul and spiritual essence. It's all divinity. It's all to be embraced. And he did creation theology that talked of that. He also talked about we're born in original blessing rather than original sin, which is a completely different way to look at yourself and your life. And so he, in the last, about 3 years ago, did a book that I came across. It was published originally in 2020. And it is Julian of Norwich, Wisdom in a Time of Pandemic and Beyond. If you want a cool book, I highly recommend Matthew Fox's book on Julian of Norwich. And I'm going to give you the high points of it. And this was something that I also shared when I did the workshop that was on transcending difficult times. This was one of the pieces of it. And some people have talked and said, would you please repeat that? I couldn't go when it was offered before, or I did it and I'd like to go and do it again, because there was so much material that was rich and helpful. So let me know if you'd be interested for me to repeat that. But this morning, I'm going to give you the Julian of Norwich section, because it felt so important to include this as part of the season leading up to Easter, which is about surrendering, and the resurrection that comes once you let go. And she lived in Norwich, which I didn't realize at the time was the second largest city in England. She lived from 1342 to about 1429, to give you the historical framework of when she was on the planet and doing her work. There were many, many plagues that were coming through England at that time. Half of the population of England died in about a 30-year period from all these various plagues that came through. So it had a tremendous influence. And one of the things that the traditional theology that started with the framework of you're born a terrible sinner was who's to blame? Rather than taking Jesus's thing of original blessing, like with the man born blind, and this has happened, and the disciples are all going, who did wrong? Who's to blame? And instead, Jesus said, no, this is an opportunity to see the presence of God. It's to embody your belief in original blessings rather than original sin. So the main theology of the time was focused a lot on fear, obviously. Why is this happening? Who has done wrong? Have you not been coming to church and doing the right things? And so in the midst of all of this, there was a lot of anger and a lot of fear and a lot of blaming. And she decided that she wanted to stay absolutely grounded in the presence of God that she had experienced and a divine inspiration. And so she truly is a mystic that had one of those soul-changing experiences, and in sharing it with us, allows us to see that as a possibility for each and every one of us. She recorded her vision in a book called Revelations of Divine Love. She wrote and was published in 1373. The first woman ever to have a book attributed to her name in England. How's that for amazing? Yes, even now that's kind of amazing. And she sheltered in place, as I said at the opening, as an anchoress, where she was part of a Benedictine community, but rather than being isolated and away from the world, she wanted to have a space where she was absolutely remembering that spiritual moment of her aha connection with Jesus and with God, but to do it in a way that she could embody it and share it with the world. And so she had windows out into the street, and people would come and pray with her, and she would do teachings, and she would answer questions, and she would do blessings. And so she was sheltering in place, as we all did, but kept a window open. And how important that is to remember. And so she focused on love and gratitude rather than anger and blame. She's considered part of the lineage that we've talked about here so much, that's the Church of Amor versus the Church of Roma. They're both important parts of the spiritual traditions, but the Church of Amor, the Church of Love, is the one that, having walked my path, I feel the closest connection to. And I even see it in Scripture where Jesus said the greatest commandment is that you love. If you do that, everything else will fall into place. Start with love. God is love. And so she had this experience of divine love where she felt the presence of this transcendent God, this transcendent Jesus, Christ energy, she called it. That was that spiritual essence that abided in the man that we call Jesus and that abides in all of us. And she saw that. And so she experienced that, but she also experienced a really deep connection with the man who was called Jesus and with the Christ light that he sought to reveal to us and to have us see in ourselves and one another. There's a wonderful line that when I was rereading this book in preparation for this was something that I had not heard of before, but I absolutely loved. And she speaks of, I had it marked. As I wrote my first book on the cosmic Christ, there is no such thing as a Buddhist river, a Roman Catholic ocean, a Baptist moon, or an atheist cornfield. In God's sight, all humanity is one person. All people are a single humanity. Christ is an embodiment of humanity itself. His sweet incarnation and blessed passion will liberate us all because he is our head and we are the parts of his body. He represents the spiritual yearning in us all. All spiritual seekers are seekers in Christ. We invoke the cosmic Christ. And in that and through that, he sees humanity as being the living embodiment. And he said, when you all see yourselves and see yourselves as, quote, sinning or doing something wrong, she said the divine present looked on us like we would look on children, and that our very foibles are endearing and make his heart, her heart, even more tender. Isn't that beautiful? Rather than this classic judgment, it's you are loved in the midst of the process. One of the things I've always loved about the story of Gethsemane and the prayers in the Garden of Gethsemane, number one, it's in a garden, so it's close to nature. Number two, he had to go apart from all the other voices to be able to commune with the divine. And as he did that, he went through the process. If this can be passed, let it be passed. How many times have we all not said that? It's part of the human experience. But he continued in authentic prayer and reached the point where he said, okay, not my will, but thine be done. And he actually dropped to the earth, to Mother Earth, to the presence of the divine that is found all around us and in us. And that is the tradition of which Julian of Norwich is a part, as of course is Hildegard von Bingen, St. Francis of Assisi, Thomas Aquinas, and Meister Eckhart, all of whom are some of my absolute favorites, who focused on the world and creation as divine. And she said, God has chosen the soul of humanity as its resting place. Isn't that beautiful? Our souls are the resting place of the divine. And so she had to live this in a culture that was very different and had very different viewpoints. The traditional theology was very, very different. But she had this deep, intimate experience, and so she continued her whole life abiding in that and sharing in that. You can actually still get modern printings, of course, of revelations of divine love. And I love the fact that she felt the divine presence both transcendent and immanent at exactly the same time. And that's that oneness with the divine, where, yes, it's something we cannot even put words to. It's a numinous mystery. I love the numinous mystery. I love not knowing I don't have to figure it all out. But I also love that presence that meets me right where I am and gives me comfort and insights and a template through the life of Jesus, as well as through the life of all of the other spiritual masters, that we can shift and change and grow. There were 7 distinct lessons that she shares to navigate the pandemic. So I'm going to go through the 7. Because it's Sunday morning, I can't take a lot of time with each one. So if you want the workshop, let me know, and we'll spend more time with each of these. But I wanted you to hear these, because for me, each and every one is a touchstone for how we shift into the mantra of all shall be well, which Matthew Fox actually calls the vaccine that was truly needed for the pandemic. The most important vaccine was remembering all shall be well. So number 1, from Julian of Norwich, she instructs us to not flee the darkness, but to stick around for everything that the suffering, chaos, unknowing, and dark night of the soul have to teach us. Isn't that amazing? Don't flee the darkness. Allow it to be what it is, because it's part of the experience of life. Jesus had one of those moments in the garden. He had one on the cross. Does that to me mean he's not really a spiritual master? No, it's that he is. He got it. He experienced everything, and yet was able to transcend that and see the spirit and the soul behind it. So our culture tends to tell us to flee, to avoid. She's saying, dive right into the heart of life, because that presence is and always will be there. Number 2, she instructs us to not forget the deep down goodness of things that pervade existence itself and which should elicit joy, wonder, and awe. Whatever you're focusing on is what grows. And the more you define your experience by, it's not so much the experience as your perception and your interpretation of it. And she said, even in the midst of deepest challenges, don't forget to look for the sparks of light, because they are always there. Even the night sky has lights. There are lights by day and by night. And so if you start with original blessing, then you can look around, and rather than seeing things as bad, you can look for the little shimmers of goodness in the midst of whatever is going on. And having been a nurse and a hospital chaplain, I can promise you that is true. In the most horrific and catastrophic situations, the presence of the divine was there. Always. Number 3, she calls upon us for deep reflection on and appreciation of the divinity to be found in nature, the whole cosmos, as well as all creatures and all beings. That's that embracing of embodiment rather than saying the physical world is evil, and if you really want to be good, you got to let the whole physical world go and go into spirit. She was saying, no, it's all divinely created. It's all expressions of the divine. Number 4, she urges the return of the divine feminine and a deep sense of the motherhood of God. She demands that we bring gender balance alive in our souls, in our institutions, and in our culture. How's that for powerful? From 1380? We're still working on that one. When she experienced Jesus is when she experienced God as the divine feminine, as divine mother. And she realized that she was trying to live a spiritual path where one whole parent was missing. And so she realized that her writing was important. And she knew that she needed to carry that within herself, but also to have the faith to put it out there, to be the first woman published. And it talks about the motherhood of God. And she said, in that comes healing and wholeness, and we need to embody it out here collectively as well as within ourselves. Number 5, she calls us to our deepest selves, our most noble selves, our truest selves, and therefore to an experience of non-dualism between us and the divine. We are the embodiment of the presence of God. Nothing less than that. We are that embodiment, and that we have this part of us that knows when we are doing something true and right and noble. It brings with it a sense of peace. Number 6, she addresses the primacy of trust and courage. Trusting in our own bodiliness, how's that for a word, and earthiness, our sensuality, sexuality, and spirituality come together to form a sacred marriage. That's very much a theme of many of the mystics, is that the embodiment with all of his expressions, there is nothing evil about it. In the early church, priests were allowed to be married. It didn't come until later that they said, no, they're going home and talking to their wives and their sisters and their mothers, and they're coming back with other ideas. So it was partially a thing of control. And then they put them in monasteries and cloisters. So don't listen to any of that. Just listen to this. And with that divine feminine, the divine mother, was lost. It was done to preserve the message. One of the things that I have come to work through is I used to get so angry with the institutional church, particularly how it viewed women, and the challenges I experienced as an ordained woman in Texas in my lifetime. You're going to go to hell if you stand up and talk on Sunday. You can't, and to know that we are called, like she was, to have our noblest self, and from that have the trust and the courage to embody what we are called to do, even if it's something different than we might have thought. And number 7 is one of her most powerful messages. She reminds us how it is love that unites us all. We can rise up with courage and trust to spread love, to make justice and compassion happen. In doing this, a promise is set forth that someday all shall be well. It's in and through and as us that the all shall be well becomes true. It's our embodiment, our spirituality, our very presence in the world. If we can have trust and courage, spread love, and from that base of trust, courage, and love, make justice and compassion happen. That's what we're all called to do. And from this is born the promise that someday all shall be well. And we know now that all shall be well is also in this very moment, as Johnny sang so beautifully. all shall be well is unfolding in our midst right now if we are willing to be channels, instruments, sanctuaries of this divine presence. Matthew Fox says this about Julian. She took advantage of the crisis to explore more deeply what her heart and soul truly desired and were capable of. That's what mystics do. And we are all mystics, especially in a time of radical transformation such as this. Let us pray. Oh, sweet, sweet Spirit, we open in willingness to be channels of the divine presence, to allow ourselves to be modern mystics who let that presence of God come and meet us right where we are, that awakens our souls to the fact that it is the resting place of the divine, and that through us, the kingdom of heaven is manifest on earth, not through sin and redemption, but rather through love and grace, through embracing our physicality, our embodiment completely, being willing to walk through anything and everything that life brings, remembering at the very core of our being is the North Star of the presence of the divine that ever shines. May we go forth and be willing to walk up with trust and courage, to allow love to unite us all, and to be channels of faith and grace, justice and compassion for all whose paths we cross. We open in willingness, knowing all shall be well, and every kind of thing shall be well, and is well. And so it is. Om, amen, and blessed be. Hi, Julian. Can't you just feel her presence? Oh, my anchoress of heart. And so now we're going to stand and sing a song that was not written in 1373 when her book was published, but I think she would really love it and resonate with every part of this. Please stand, and we're going to sing the classic, What a Wonderful World. Sending these words up to Julian, saying, we got it, girl.
Of green, red roses too, I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see cool eyes of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends holding hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I babies watch them grow. They'll never adore Rami's having a good time.
Yeah, he's taking the floor, right? So this is the time in our service where we receive the offering. And I noticed that when Ronnie first came in, he sat down right at he started to find a spot, and he sat down right at the apex of it's perfect. So, as we do here each week, we bless our offering as a statement of really who and what we truly are. So I invite you to take out your offering, hold it in your hands to your heart, and we'll bless it as we do here each week. Divine love, asbly, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful indeed. Sweet, sweet Spirit, Mother, Father, God, in this energy of gratitude, you can feel it. We're grateful for this incredible thing that you call life, the opportunities and the blessings that come past us all the time, every moment. And to see the hand of Spirit in each one of those. Feel the hand of Spirit, and to know that the hand of Spirit is working on our behalf, each one of us, in every one of those now moments. So we receive these gifts with that knowledge, that knowing, and we send them forward across our community and across the planet that each person may also experience that. Feel the gratitude for the moment. And in that moment, know their place within it. And with that, all shall be well. Creating the kingdom of heaven here on earth and in our lifetime. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, now is the time for the most exciting time. We have announcements. And in the sense of gratitude, a couple weeks ago, we had this thing we called a garage sale. And there were two people that were fundamental to keeping that thing alive. One of which is Beverly in the back. And the other one, which is Wenice right here. Wenice, would you stand up so everybody can see who you are and say thank you. And Beverly, you can poke your head out the door. Love you, we bless you, we behold the Christ in you. Love you, we bless you, and behold the Christ in you.
I watched these two women with their depth of service, and words cannot thank them enough. But I hope that blessing was symbolic.
Indeed. Although when I was putting away the signs, when he said, well, I said, I don't know if this is going to make it. She said, well, we just do this every 5 years. It'll be just fine. So we'll see what happens next year. So as Pam noted, there's a prayer class going on right now. It's actually going to start following church at 1 o'clock. Those people that are already a part of it, they know about it. If you're curious, we would allow you to drop in and just see what you think about. As we looked and explore the breadth and depth of prayer, and we're focusing on affirmative prayer because that's what unity is about. But it's not the only way to pray. In fact, just sitting here breathing is pretty much what you're doing is praying. So it's about learning not only the mechanics, but the process and the energy behind it. So anyway, it's on at 1 o'clock in the Hearth Room. The other thing is, as many of you know, we're refinancing the building. There is commitment letters out in the hallway. If you can participate in that, we'd love to have, if your name is part of the consortium, there's a consortium, we call it. A bunch of people got together and funded this building. They do it through a CD, basically, that's secured by the value of the property. So it's a very safe instrument. It's a 5-year commitment for the money, and the thing rolls up, unless you need to take it out, in which case then we go through that process. So anyway, we're looking to start rolling this into a conclusion by the first part of next month. So if you're curious or want to participate, feel free to get a hold of myself, Pam, or look at those little commitment letters out on the for you. You'll see what they look like, and got questions around to help you with that. And that is all the announcements. Isn't that wonderful? Uh-oh.
I just want to say, last chance to join the Easter Singers. Come this Tuesday at 12:30.
Yes, sir. Come up and talk to her after
4:30.
service.
12:30.
12:30. Well, let's do
We need
4:30. I think I
a
got a 12:30 appointment right here.
Wednesday, Thursday?
And
Okay.
Should we just be here at 12:30 and then we'll work it out?
We need to move.
if you're interested, go to the piano after service, and we'll figure out a time.
Come see me or give me a call.
Okay.
And
see you there after service, you'll be
Right
here.
here.
Right there.
And I want to encourage those of you who feel so guided to consider becoming part of the consortium. We've done 2 5-year rotations. The first 5 years, my mother was still actively involved here, and she did a sign up with me. And the day before she died, that afternoon, we were going through her final paperwork, and she brought that out. And I still remember she said, Pam, she said, I can give this to you, and then it'll be yours, and you can get it back out when it rolls over if you want, whatever you want to do. And she said, or we can forgive it together. And I said, let's forgive it together. And I still remember she and I sitting side by side, she in her little chair with her oxygen in her robe, and we signed the paper. And it turns out that was the first of many who also forgave as part of the process of the first 5 years. Second 5 years came up, and I didn't have any resources. But this time, I have a small nest egg, and so Lane and I are going to do a piece to become part of the consortium again. And so I can't ask you all to step up and to invest and put your faith and your trust in it unless I do it as well, and unless Lane does it with me. And so I just wanted to say this is a call not just from me as minister, but as someone who walks side by side with you and believes in this ministry and having this spiritual home that we've co-created together. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So let's join in a circle around the perimeter. By the way, everything else that's going on in this building is on the website, unitypt.org.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our fighter, united all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every breath I take, and this is my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Of God surrounds us, I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us, I am the love of God. The power of God protects us, I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us, I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
All is well. Go forth, blessed and blessing. Woo, you are all loved. Oh, yeah. Yay.
Have a great week,
Yay, blessings.